Hey everybody, welcome to the world headquarters of NewsNation. We're in breaking news mode tonight because in just a matter of literally minutes, landfall is expected for one of the most powerful hurricanes, some say in history for some regions, others say for sure for years, particularly the Big Bend in Florida. Just look where this Cat 4 is expected to hit, sometime around 11 p.m., which is literally 59 minutes from now. There are people who have decided not to leave, despite the pleas of officials for them to evacuate, even mandatory evacuation routes. Some have chosen to stay, prompting one of the more harrowing warnings from an official in Taylor County, Florida, in that Big Bend region. Let me just read to you what this official has sent out to those who have decided to stay in this area just east of Apalachicola. Okay, please write your name, birthday, important information on your arm or leg in permanent marker, in bold letters, permanent marker, so you can be identified and family notified. If that doesn't say that this storm is going to be a killer, I don't know what else does. But there are 500,000 people without power already tonight. And as the night skies become louder and more furious, this is the time when those who decided not to leave may have regrets. There is no other option. The window has closed. So for those people now, the warnings are: find a safe place in your home and treat this like a tornado. As we all know, tornadoes are usually quick. Hurricanes are not. And so the advice is find a stable place within your house, find it and put your loved ones and you in it, an inner bathroom, an inner closet, a stair area, a door frame. But make no mistake, get up high, because the storm surge is expected to go as high as 20 feet, and some officials say maybe even higher. So that you're aware of what 20 feet is, it is a 2-story building, which means your attic may be the only place, and even your attic may be a dangerous place. I have heard it before many times in storm coverage, and I'll say it tonight. If you are with power and hearing this, and you plan to be in your attic, take a hatchet, take an axe. Too many people have been found dead in their attics because they have been flooded with no escape. Those who take hatchets and axes can cut their way out through the roof. It has happened, and it is not hyperbole, certainly not with a story of this magnitude. Officials all across Florida tonight saying the line on the bottom of your screen: do not go outside. It is lethal, and there are expected to be many casualties. Right now, there is only one casualty reported, and it was a street sign that fell on the victim. But as you can imagine, in that area of Big Bend, Florida, which is so rich with the beautiful live oak trees, they are expecting thousands of those extremely sturdy trees to be falling tonight. And where they fall is anyone's guess. Power lines, homes, vehicles, walkways, apartment buildings, commercial areas. Get safe. Another warning from officials: if you're in an establishment, in a structure that has a tree nearby, do not shelter in the area where that tree can fall. Find a safer place within your home. This is obviously one of the more frightening kinds of warnings because you cannot evacuate into a basement. It can be flooded. Try to stay away from all windows. They could shatter and become projectiles. And of course, try to get as high as you can, knowing full well that trees can fall on roofs and cut homes in half. The expected point where this storm is going to come ashore, if all the projections are accurate in the next 55 minutes, is just east of Tallahassee, just east of Apalachicola, and also at the area of St. Marks, Florida. I keep saying Apalachicola, beg your pardon. Apalachicola, just east of Apalachicola in St. Marks. It's fairly rural, but man, oh man, for anyone in that area, this is where it's expected to make landfall. And the outer bands, for miles and miles either way, can be just as powerful. The storm surge, if you're not going to be hit by wind, the storm surge 10, 15, and again, up to 20 feet. I heard an official say earlier something I had no idea was possible. A 20-foot storm surge can push 20 miles. So don't think for a minute, if you're 10, 15, 20, 30 miles away from Apalachicola, that storm surge won't hit you. 20 miles for a 20-foot wall of water. Officials have also called that kind of a water wall unsurvivable. 42 million people across the southeast of Florida are under hurricane warnings. Not just Florida, all the way up the East Coast as well. A number of states have already been called in advance disaster areas. The declarations have been made for Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina. President Biden approved those areas pre-landfall, knowing full well that they were going to have to free up the federal resources to assist those state and local officials who are going to be in utter chaos and hell tomorrow. They're going to need the entire force of the federal government and its help. The mayor of Tallahassee, Florida, tonight has said this could be the most intense and destructive storm in the city's history. Don't forget, it's only been a couple of years since Hurricane Ian just waged war on Florida. Hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars damage. And now here we are again, the west coast of Florida, the south coast of the Florida Panhandle, and all the states along the way. It's pretty incredible to think the pathway that this storm is likely to take. There have been areas inland, in Georgia even, where they have talked about mandatory evacuations. I want to go to Brooke Schaefer now, our national news correspondent. She's live in Tallahassee. Brooke, so give me a bit of a lay of the land where you are now and what things are feeling like just 53 minutes now before expected landfall.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you can see it on camera, Ashleigh, but man, we are feeling these wind gusts and the rain here in Tallahassee really start to pick up as this now Category 4 hurricane is about 100 miles away from Tallahassee. As we zoom in on these lights over here, too, you can really see the rain starting to pick up. The wind here in Tallahassee is going to be the major storyline. It is the major concern as the eye of this Category 4 hurricane is expected to pass either right over Tallahassee or very nearby it. We have power for now, but officials have told people living here in Tallahassee, do not get used to that. We are expecting to feel wind gusts of about 130 miles per hour. And Ashleigh, you were talking about all of those big oak trees all over the city of Tallahassee. Those are going to be a real concern as this storm pushes through, potentially taking down homes or power lines. So people here in Tallahassee have been told to expect widespread power outages and be prepared to be without power for at least a few days. Ashleigh?
So, Brooke, I can see that you're, just starting to feel some of the, the rain. And so often people think that if they're not going to be within the path, they're out of the, they're in the clear. But the truth is, most people die from flooding. They don't die from lightning. They don't die from wind. They die from flooding. And this storm surge has a massive swath that it's likely to hit. Can you explain a little bit about the kind of pathway and those who are in danger of the storm surge?
Yeah, look, here in Tallahassee, storm surge is not the issue because we are further inland. Wind is the real factor here in Tallahassee. But we spent most of our day, Ashleigh, down over really along the Gulf here in the Big Bend area, some of those small coastal cities where people are under mandatory evacuations, told to pack up their homes and their cars and move further inland to ride out the storm because they are anticipating potentially 15 to 20 feet of storm surge. These are powerful waves that have the potential to pick homes off of their foundation and push them several blocks away. Officials have said this kind of storm surge is unsurvivable. So people have been told to pack up and leave. And I'll tell you, for the most part, people I talked to were heeding those warnings. They were packing up and moving further inland. I spoke to one guy who told me he's a Florida man. He has lived through several hurricanes, but he said this one is especially concerning for him because of the potential for a direct hit in Florida's Big Bend area.
All right, Brooke, keep us up to date, if you will, please. I want to just head over to our other correspondent here at NewsNation, Xavier Walton. He's a live for us in Perry, Florida. So set the scene. Xavier, where are you exactly for those across the nation who don't know where Perry, Florida is, especially in relation to the path of this storm?
Hey, Ashleigh, so we're actually on the dirty side of this storm. So we're getting a lot of winds and a lot of rain right now. Just right before we came on with you, as you were talking to Brooke, there was a loud bang. That was a transformer blowing. We've been hearing them really for the last several hours. And this is where we get that little lull, so to speak. Come with me just a little bit this way, Kenny. And we're trying to seek shelter. Kenny is going to come this way just a little bit. And he's going to get right behind our truck here. And you could float. Go ahead. So this is where we are hiding behind. But the winds, and this is the wild part about this, Ashleigh, this is nothing. It's only going to get worse from here. And that's what's scary about this storm, right? And that's why local law enforcement will tell people, do not go out if you don't have to. I'm going to duck back under the truck again, just so I could talk to you. Earlier today, we were up there at Cedar Key. They were expecting 10 to 15-foot storm surge. We were also in Steinhatchee. That was part of our trek. They're expecting up to 20-foot storm surge, possibly. I mean, I was talking to some people who said that they simply did not want to leave their homes. And this is the sort of stuff they're dealing with. We're here in Perry tonight because we didn't want to get caught along the coastline where potentially we would get flooded, because that's the real danger when you think about how much water is going to be pumping in from this hurricane, Ashleigh.
And, you know, Perry is quite a ways away from Tallahassee, and you're already seeing the strength of those winds. It hasn't even hit shore yet. Again, I'm doing a bit of a countdown because the expected landfall is in about 48 minutes from now. The people who are in that area, so many people in Florida say, I've been through Ian, I've been through Andrew, I'm a veteran of this. But so many others in, you know, authority are saying things like, they've never seen anything like this. The Sheriff Wayne Padgett of Taylor County, which is in the Bend, the Big Bend area, said that those who have not evacuated, they will all likely die. And that's pretty strident words. And then said, I've lived here my whole life. I've never been worried about a storm, the sheriff says. I am worried about this storm. Xavier, where you are the residents speaking in this kind of language?
Yes. In fact, when we were in Cedar Key today, that was our first stop this morning. And I kept asking, because it was similar to what you were just saying, does this storm feel different? Keep in mind, this area, this part of Florida, has dealt with 3 hurricanes in 13 months. They are no stranger. I was out here during Idalia. I was here last month during Perry. But they said, I was here in Perry last month during Debbie. And the residents I spoke with, they said this one seemingly felt different. And I can't put words to it, but when I was talking to somebody with the emergency management department, she was saying in her gut, the people she was talking to, it just had a different feeling. Take that with whatever you may, but that's why everybody was saying, please get out, do not stay if you don't have to. Where we're staying tonight, I can tell you right now, it's full of people who chose to evacuate. And as you look behind me over here, most of this area, you can kind of see the lights flickering a little bit, but most of the area is starting to lose power just a tad. The one thing we're really watching and keeping our heads on a swivel for is those signs, because as soon as the wind hits them, they become projectiles, and that's where we're in harm's way. This side here of our hotel, we're staying at the Econo Lodge. I don't think that's going to be here much longer, and keep in mind, this isn't even the worst of it yet. It's going to go from bad to worse here in the next few hours.
All right, Xavier, be careful. Keep, your head on a swivel. Those signs, like you mentioned, do become projectiles. I've seen it happen before. I've had colleagues who have been literally hit off their feet with projectiles in storms. So please, you and your crew, be careful. Bring us the updates when you can and when it is safe. I want to go over to Mills Hayes. He's in Panama, or she's in Panama City, Florida, right now. So, it's funny, just going from spot to spot, the differences that I'm seeing between your live shot and Xavier's live shot, Mills. But I suppose this is what, the proverbial calm before the storm looks like.
Right, exactly, Ashleigh. It's we are on the outer area of the hurricane path, and I'm actually here in Panama City Beach, and this is outside of the path of the hurricane. So this is in an area that is under a tropical storm warning. We actually spoke with people who are staying at our hotel that actually evacuated to Panama City Beach. So this is an area where people are kind of hunkering down to wait out the storm, and we actually know that there are dozens of power linemen that are here as well. There are trucks that are stationed about 10 miles from here, dozens of them there to kind of wait until that damage comes through so that they can immediately respond once it's safe, because this isn't supposed to be, well, it is a long storm, but for some of these people, they'll be just staying overnight in these hotels, trying to get up and go back home at 4 o'clock in the morning, really just needing somewhere to escape that storm surge that's supposed to come through. So here, it really is that calm before the storm, but we are expected to see a little bit more wind, a little bit more rain, and that wind is where it might be a little bit of more of a concern here, because we could see winds upwards of 70 miles per hour, and that it can do some damage to a home or to a business, and so that's the concern here right now, Ashleigh.
Yeah, Mills, you think about 75 miles per hour and how brutal that is. And just imagine now that it's already been clocked at 140. It's double that right now as it heads, literally barrels towards land, not far from where you are. Mills, thank you for that. I'm going to come back to you a little bit later in the program because I do want to know if people are evacuating to you. A lot of those mandatory evacuations, they don't have a lot of, not all the places to go, but certainly if there's a spot that's not terribly far away, sometimes that just sees a real influx. In fact, there are a number of stadiums all around the country that have been designated as rescue areas. Football stadiums now, and you normally hear that, right? Usually in the area, but we've seen it in New Jersey. I mean, like we're hearing about football stadiums that are being designated for, survivors of the storm to possibly live temporarily because they may lose everything tonight. In fact, it is pretty much a foregone conclusion. There will be homes that are wiped out tonight by this Cat 4 storm. It's why we're in breaking news mode tonight. I wanted to just mention to you something else. The hurricane warnings. I don't know if you've seen a path like this or heard one that is this far inland, all the way from Apalachicola, which is just east of Tallahassee, right? So you can see that little purple band right there, all the way from Apalachicola, Florida to Macon, Georgia, all the way overland. The hurricane warnings, and that's a 3-hour drive. So just imagine a hurricane that has the strength to stay over land and be that powerful to have a warning. 3 hours drive from the actual, shoreline where it comes to shore. I want to bring in someone named Missy. I believe Missy sheltering in place. Are you in St. Petersburg, Missy? Can you tell me where you are, what's happening?
Yes, I'm in St. Petersburg, Florida. The majority of the storm has gone by us, but we still have major winds, and now the surge has started to come in. So we're seeing flooding in the streets downtown. The marinas, some of the floating docks are nearly to the top of the piling. So worrying about some friends that are on their boats down in St. Pete. So again, most of the wind has started to subside a bit, and we're just hoping for the best on the surge.
So, Missy, as I understand it, you normally live on a boat, and you had the wherewithal to come to shore and shelter at a friend's house. Do you have any idea the state of your boat or all the other boats? I mean, a lot of people live on boats, and those are their domiciles. So what's the status? Do you know?
Yes, so far so good. Everything held in terms of the lines. Folks have been checking on our boat today. It's been in good shape. Some of the cleats have actually ripped out of the docks, which makes it a little bit stressful, but not on our boat. And again, the worry right now is the docks floating potentially to the top of the pilings, because once they're over the pilings, then I don't know what happens. I haven't seen that before.
Yeah, well, it's not pleasant, that's for sure. And there'll likely be a lot of pictures that we're going to start seeing in the hours to come, especially when daylight breaks, of boats that are not only toppled into each other, but scattered far on shore. It's not unusual after something like this,
yes,
Cat 4, to see boats on top of homes or even apartments. I sure hope yours is going to be okay. Missy, one other question for you. St. Pete's is so vulnerable, right? St. Pete's Beach. How many people do you think stayed there and didn't come back over the causeway to the mainland and seek, better shelter?
Yeah, I have no idea, but I do have a friend who's actually out at Treasure Island, and we just found out that her truck is flooded. She has a Tahoe, so she decided to stay. We tried to talk her out of it. The water has come up into her garage and over her fifth step into the condominium. So we're hoping the best for her, but it sounds like it's going to get worse. The surge is supposed to last until about 2 o'clock in the morning tomorrow.
And then just sort of describe for me, because, I'm picturing the storm coming past you in St. Pete's and basically you being lashed with, I'm not sure if it's it would be the non-dirty side first and then the dirty side after. Could you tell when the eye had passed you and when you went from if there is such a thing as a clean side of the storm, to the dirty outer bands?
So ours was really the dirty side the whole way because it came straight up the coast. And there were some significant bands early this morning. Then it cleared up and the sun came out. The wind started to build, and then it started to rain at about 3 o'clock and rained pretty much the rest of the afternoon, but sideways rain. So it wasn't just, sprinkling or dripping rain. But, trees were sideways. I drove around for a little while this afternoon, and there were branches down. The Ace Hardware sign had blown out, so I think there'll be significant debris around town as we get out tomorrow and take a look around.
Missy, did you also see that incredible phenomenon when the storm surge is coming? Right before it, there's for lack of a better description, a massive storm suck, and that happens in Tampa Bay, and almost all of Tampa Bay empties. You can walk across the flats oftentimes with major storms. Did you see any of that? Were you that far today in your travels?
I didn't see that. This is my first year down here, so my first major hurricane. We were here for Idalia last year, which was a lot nicer to us. I did not see that surge that happens on regularly.
Well, Missy, I'm glad to hear you're okay, and you're certainly calm, and I'm glad about that. I think the folks who are north of you, in that Big Bend are not feeling quite as sanguine. I look at these pictures, and I think it's 275. I'm not sure if you could see the pictures we were just running, Missy, but I think was it I-275? Yep. Well, I look at that and I think, who the hell is driving? Who was out there doing that? That is a death wish. I've seen it. I've seen cars washing off live. I mean, I hope they all got to their destinations, and that is absolutely empty now, because nobody has any business being on wheels or anywhere near a causeway or a bridge like that. Missy, be careful. Thank you for helping us out with this. Break in and tell us anything if you learn of anything interesting. And good luck to your boat as well. I hope everything's going to be okay.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You bet. So Missy's in St. Pete's, and if you know Tampa St. Pete's is that spectacular stretch of beach, and it is sort of connected to Tampa on the mainland. When we come back after the break, that whole storm surge, storm suck phenomenon I was talking about, it is like eerie, because when it goes out, it's going to come back in with a vengeance, and that's what Missy was just talking about. So when we come back, we're going to go to Tampa and see if we can't find out how things look there and what the storm surge is looking like there, and if Tampa Bay is coming back in with a vengeance. Back in a moment. Minutes away and counting from landfall for Hurricane Helene. And make no mistake, the officials aren't using hyperbole when they say things like, many people will die. We're probably going to lose a lot of lives. That's from the National Hurricane Center. That is not hyperbole. That is fact. People have been warned. Mandatory evacuations sadly have been ignored by some. Many have been on the road trying to escape the path of Hurricane Helene. It is a Cat 4 storm with winds up to 140 miles an hour and a storm surge that could be as high as 20 feet. Just imagine a wall of water 2 stories high that can go as far as 20 miles. The rain that's going to be an incident as well. 6 to 12 inches expected in most areas, up to 18 inches expected in some other areas. I want to bring in Terry. She is in Tampa. Terry, I just spoke with someone over in St. Pete's, not far from you. They said that the storm had passed, that things were pretty nasty, and that you're just sort of waiting on the worry of the storm surge. Can you tell me what you're seeing?
We are not past anything here on Tampa Bay. This is the open water, and the waves are just really unbelievable. I've lived on this water for 60 some odd years and never seen anything like this. I don't think the surge is anywhere near ending here.
So tell me, what is the evacuation situation? How many people left where you are? Tampa's a huge city. You can't just mobilize hundreds of thousands of people. Was anyone asked to leave, suggested that you leave? Was there anywhere to leave to?
Yes, there definitely was evacuation A zones, which is what we are in. We were told to leave, but it's never come in the house before. Like I said, this is the 60 some odd years that I've been here, and we have a second story, so we knew that we would be safe. We're not in jeopardy as far as our lives are concerned. It's just our property and the beating that we're taking. And most people on our street did not evacuate. I mean, everybody stayed. I had these barriers that we put up that were supposed to weigh 1,200 pounds once they were filled with water and put out there, and they were tossed around like baby dolls. It's crazy.
So we were looking at a picture of you reporting for us, as a storm watcher at this point. You're literally our eyes and ears there. I want to ask our control room to take your picture again. And I think you told me that you're on the second floor of your structure. Thank God. And I think it's a window behind you. Can you give me a bit of a lay of the land, where you are, what's behind you, and if you can see anything out in that blackness? Because I think blackness is frightening, but if you can see something, let us know. Okay, let me
go back out here and kind of show you all what's happening currently. I'm hoping that this. Are you able to see anything?
I can. Yeah. Hold it a little more steady, and if we have to drop our banner to get a better.
Sorry.
Is it pretty windy?
You got a technologically challenged person here, but are you able to see what's happening here on the bay?
Yeah. Point down a little bit more, and then we can see the waves coming in and hitting the shore. Just point down a little bit even further. Yeah. Oh, I can see. Yeah. It looks like it's debris that's already coming in, right?
Yeah.
So Tampa Bay, I mentioned it to Missy, who was speaking with us before from St. Pete's, that Tampa Bay has the massive, evacuation of water before the big storm surge comes in. Did you see that today?
No, did not see any kind of water stuck out at all. I mean, we did have, went from a high tide to a lower tide, so we lost about a foot of water out there, and then it came back in. Maybe that's what you're talking about.
So what I'm seeing right now looks like debris, but obviously it's a lot of blackness. Can you hear? People often call a hurricane like a freight train, but usually when they're right at the eye, can you hear anything in particular? Someone had mentioned that the eye wall sounded like a revving engine.
No, we weren't able to hear any kind of that type of thing. It's really just the sound of the crashing waves and the wind. We're getting 75-mile-an-hour gusts. We just rebuilt our dock from Adalia. Literally, we've just got our dock put back together in April, and now it's we're praying to God it stays. That it doesn't go away. I'm hoping you can see this.
Yeah, no, I can see it. It's pretty dark, but I can see a lot of contrast between, the dock area. I think that's the hot tub right there, right? Is that a fire pit or a hot tub?
So
it's hard to figure out the scale there. It's either it looks like a fire pit, a hot tub, or a round part of your outer deck.
Yep, that's a hot tub, and then that's the new dock. You can't see the seawall anymore. It's completely It's completely gone.
Can I just ask you,
so
Terry,
sorry.
are you safe where you are? I just want to make sure. I want you to go back inside if you're not safe, if you don't have a railing.
I came back downstairs to be able to try to hopefully show you. Jesus, look at that, hitting my house.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
But I want you to. I just want you to go back inside, and I don't want you to take any undue risks. I can't see the circumstance you're in, whether you're on a railinged deck or if you're getting too close to water. Yeah, you're on the first floor now, right?
Yeah, I'm from Florida.
Okay, when are you going to head to the second floor permanently?
Not until it's actually, not for a bit. I mean, we will go upstairs for sure.
Can I ask you also, you have a really nice house. I'm looking at your beautiful windows, your view. You've got nice fixtures and furniture. What have you done with all of your precious things?
We lifted everything up. We took our family, photographs and things that are really important to us and lifted it all up. And that's really all we can do at this point.
Also, Terry, do you have any pets?
Yeah, we have 2 dogs.
And they're behaved enough to stay upstairs?
Yeah, we took them out earlier when we had a little break in the rain, and they went to the bathroom, and now they're pretty freaked out, really. But yeah, they're doing okay.
In for the night. Okay, you have got to stay safe for us. I want to come back to you as we watch the progress of this storm. We're 24 and a half minutes from the timed landfall, which was supposed to be at 11 o'clock Eastern. And we're watching that, like a hawk. But we really want to just encourage you to be very, very careful. We appreciate you doing this work for us and showing us in real time what it looks like for someone who's decided to stay and, and shelter in place. I should just remind our viewers that Terry is in Tampa. She's right on Tampa Bay. She's right where the water hits the land. That's her front door, right on the water, where you're seeing it crashing into her once beautiful dock. Terry, thank you for this. We're going to come back to you in a little bit. I'm going to squeeze in a quick break, but I just want to let you know real quickly that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says he's going to have a news conference at 11 o'clock tonight. Again, that's in about 24 minutes from now, presumably the time that we are still expecting landfall for Hurricane Helene. And right now we're also looking at close to 700,000 people in Florida without power. Those in Georgia, 32,000 people, 11,000 in North Carolina, and they haven't even begun to see the wrath of Helene. We'll take a quick break, get you updated on everything else in a moment.
25-mile-an-hour maximum sustained right now probably is going to be higher. Whether it hits as a Category 4 or Category 3, it's going to be a significant storm. And even as it moves inland throughout northern Florida, you are going to see trees that are going to be falling down. That's just the reality of what we're doing, of what we're seeing here. And if you hear the tree limbs snapping around you, sometimes it almost sounds like fireworks are going off. Treat that as a tornado. Shelter in a part of the home that would be where you'd have protection from that. And this is the type of thing where, especially as that eye wall moves through, you're going to have some serious storms. And there also may be tornadoes that will be spun off from this as well, and that could be producing some of these reactions. If you have really severe weather, and then all of a sudden it gets very calm, that probably means you're in the eye of the storm. So don't go out into that. That eye wall will collapse quickly and unexpectedly, and you will get very bad weather very quickly as well. There's going to be power lines that are going to be down. Be careful about that, particularly in the streets, particularly near your residence. Do not mess with down power lines. Those can be very, very hazardous. The storm is going to hit Florida's Big Bend region sometime this evening, likely around 11 o'clock. It's going to be dark. Don't go out as soon as that storm passes if it's still dark and try to do work around your house or worry about things. let it get light. There's going to be hazards there. It's just not something you want to be navigating in the dark. When we get into tomorrow, you may have some things on your roof. Just be careful with using ladders. There's going to be groups that are going to be helping people fix their homes in the appropriate areas. So if you're somebody that you may have some physical limitations, don't put your health at risk for that. Watch the standing water. We've already seen a lot of standing water in different parts of the state already. We're likely to see more of that. You never know what's in the standing water. When you have streets that are flooded, don't try to drive through the flooded streets. You are going to end up having your car stall out, and then you're going to be stuck, not to mention the hazards of just being on the roads in those circumstances with having accidents. We've been working here at the state, really starting the weekend. Clearly, we did a state of emergency at the beginning of the week. We have 1,100 missions in progress through the Florida Division of Emergency Management. Those continue to be filled, and they will continue to be filled until they're all done. Many of those are more for post-storm resources rather than pre-landfall resources. We do have the linemen staged throughout the state. You have Duke, TCO, FPL. We have the co-ops. We have the municipals. I think everybody's on the same page. As soon as this storm passes, there needs to be a strong effort to get the power restored, and they will be working to do that. And they've done a great job on this in recent years, and I think we've really set the standard here in the state of Florida. We have 130 generators that are at various gas stations. So when they lose power, most of the newer gas stations or the larger stations have generators per Florida law or have an ability to get the power back on. Some of the smaller ones don't, and when you're talking about the Big Bend region, that can be significant. So those generators have been distributed, and we should not see major interruptions in fuel given that. We have all state agencies that are on standby, 3,500 National Guard soldiers. We can surge that very quickly if we need more. Florida Highway Patrol has 200 state troopers that are on standby. They will go and be dispatched immediately following the storm to areas that need help. Florida Department of Transportation standing by, 307 cut and toss crews to get the roads cleared, 120 bridge inspectors to get the bridges back open, almost 700 generators, big 200 plus pieces of large equipment, and then the large pumps, which they have used not just in hurricanes, but in some of the rainstorms we've had where you've seen flooding in recent months. FDOT has used that, and it's been very effective. We have done a fuel mission, even though we've sent the generators to the stations. We haven't necessarily seen fuel shortage, but you do have ports that are closed. So we have almost 500,000 gallons of diesel in reserve that are being brought into the state, 132,000 gallons of regular motor vehicle gas, 36,000 gallons of propane, and 5,000 gallons of jet fuel. So you're close to almost 700,000 gallons between everything we have across the variety of fuel needs. And we don't anticipate having to use all or even most of that, but we want to make sure that people have the fuel that they need, particularly as the storm passes. So if you're in one of these areas in the northern part of the state, particularly on the coast and those low-lying areas that will face the brunt of the storm surge, you still have time, but you got to do it right now. Every minute that goes by, you're going to start to see conditions worsen. I was out, you look this afternoon in Tallahassee, wasn't that bad. It's going to get a lot worse in northern Florida as that storm gets closer. So I want to thank everybody that's been involved in the prep. We've got the assets that are there. People just need to make sure they're making decisions that have themselves and their families' safety in mind. We can't control how strong this hurricane's going to get. We can't control the track of the hurricane, but what you can control is what you can do to put yourself in the best chance to be able to ride this out in a way that's going to be safe. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kevin Guthrie.
Thank you, Governor, again for your unwavering support and commitment to the safety and well-being of Floridians. We really appreciate it. As the Governor said, we continue to work on more than 1,100 missions. and we continue to fill those. Again, as he said, most of them at this point are going to be post-impact resources that are ready to move into the area immediately. Life-threatening storm surge is expected along Florida's West Gulf Coast and Big Bend. Floodwaters are hard to navigate during the day, but even harder to see at night. At this point, it is the last hours to safely evacuate ahead of Hurricane Helene from the Gulf Coast and Big Bend. If you have not already left, you're probably going to need to start looking at sheltering in place. Stay inside, stay safe, stay put. Do not attempt to leave your home or drive during the storm. The governor has mentioned this. It's going to be dark outside. When it starts to make landfall, the street lights, the minimal street lights that we do have in the Big Bend area are going to go out. It is going to be very dark. So please do not drive, do not go out, wait to daylight, and then only drive if you need to. As you heard the governor say, if you hear the tree snapping, it's probably it's treated like a tornado. You're in imminent danger of potentially a tree falling on your house. So please make sure you're moving away from the windows and doors and getting to a central point of your home. Protect yourself from the flying debris. Put heavy coats, pillows, blankets, any type of material that you can put there on top of yourself. Make sure you're doing that. That'll help for lacerations. Again, just do the best you can with what you have right there in your home. Stay put until the storm passes. The governor's already talked about if literally like a light switch. If you've got really, really severe weather and all of a sudden it is completely like nothing ever happened, you're 99% sure you're in the eye wall of the hurricane. So do not go outside. Make sure you stay put. We are anticipating the power outages with the storm. Take time now while you actually have power to top off all of your battery chargers. Make sure you just leave them completely plugged in, ready to go until that power goes out so you get maximum use out of it. Backup generators are going to start becoming more and more of an issue. So please, we have done a really good job of reducing the number of carbon monoxide poisoning fatalities after storms. We want to have zero in this disaster, so keep those generators 20 feet away from outside your home from any open doors or windows. Make sure you let it cool down for 20 minutes before you refuel it. And when you can safely do so and get back to an open store, go ahead and spend $20 and get yourself a carbon monoxide monitor in your home. After the storm has passed your area, it is critical that you listen to local authorities for guidance on when it is safe to go outside and return home. Do not venture out. Hazardous materials, debris, and flooding could still be present along with down power lines. If you see dangerous conditions, please call 911 and report them to your local authorities. Residents needing resources after Hurricane Helene can call our State Assistance of Information line at 1-800-342-3557. That's 1-800-342-3557. We again have individuals speaking English, Spanish, and Haitian Creole available to answer any and all of your questions. Please be sure that you follow the agency on X and Instagram at FLSERT, that's at Florida CERT, and on Facebook at FDEM as we continue to share important, up-to-date, real-time information. And again, Governor, thank you so much for your leadership and your support.
Karen. All right. Thank you, Governor, for your leadership, and good evening. We've continued very close coordination with Florida Highway Patrol, with Kevin at the Division of Emergency Management, and General Haas at National Guard. As you heard from the Governor, we're very prepared for this storm. We have our people, our assets, our equipment staged all within a reasonable distance from the impact area. We're going to be ready to go to work as soon as this storm passes through with boots on the ground. We have shut down all of our construction projects across the state, and all of our contractors also stand ready to support and recover from the impacts of Hurricane Helene. We're beginning to see a lot of local road closures from storm surge and localized flooding. Please remember, you can always check fl511.com for road closure and traffic information. It is going to be your most up-to-date place to get traffic information. As the storm approaches the state, bridges have begun closing as winds increase. You heard the governor mention Sunshine Skyway is closed, the Howard Franklin Bridge, the Courtney Campbell Causeway, and also Gandy Causeway is closing within the hour. Please, if you see water on top of the road or lapping over bridges, please do not drive through it. It can be very dangerous. We have 120 bridge inspectors ready to go as soon as the storm passes through to inspect bridges and make sure they're safe for travel. We're closely monitoring the major east-west roadways within the storm's path for Hurricane Helene. That's going to be I-10, US 98, and US 19. We're working directly with local utility companies to have a direct line of communication to expedite our cut and toss efforts. A lot of times when storms like this come through, you can have oak trees wrapped in power lines. It takes very close coordination with utilities, and we're ready to do that. The cut and toss efforts have actually already begun in southwest Florida. The impacts were not that significant where the storm has already passed. FDOT crews have already driven and cleared more than 2,000 miles of roadway in southwest Florida. So we've already started working. Once the initial response is through, our cut and toss crews will transition to debris removal. And under Governor DeSantis' leadership, we will stand ready, just like with Adalia and Debbie, to support fiscally constrained counties with the debris removal operation. Please listen to your local law enforcement, your local emergency offices. If roads are not safe to drive, please do not drive on them. Water over a road can be very dangerous, especially around culverts and bridges. Every storm season, we see people try to navigate through water. You have no idea what's going on underneath the water. Please do not drive through it. We're going to stay in touch with our airports and seaports. Seaports are closed waterside right now. Airports are going to reopen just as soon as practically feasible. And again, Governor, thank you for your leadership and support.
So we are getting close to having a landfall. I think the track is kind of taking it into that Taylor County, but I would say anywhere from Wakulla Jefferson County line over into Taylor is where a lot of the models have it. But keep in mind that wherever that eye hits, particularly on the northeast side of that storm, that's going to whip up a lot of storm surge. And so if it's hitting Taylor, you're looking at coastal Levy, Dixie. That's going to be some significant surge. On the west side of the storm, you still have surge, but it is not going to be as high as the ones on the northeast side. That's just how these things work. So where it hits is important for the wind. The wind is going out pretty far from this storm, and so you're going to have hurricane force winds for probably 50 miles outside of the eye of the storm, and then you're going to continue to see surge, particularly in that Big Bend area. So, but people do have time. If you're in those coastal areas, particularly in that Big Bend, if you want to get out of Dodge, you still have time to do it. We're likely to see conditions worsen, but if you go right now, you're probably going to be okay. And then if you decide not to, hunker down, you gotta be as safe as you can. I will say that regardless of what people decide to do, we have resources that are staged, whether it's National Guard, whether it's Fish and Wildlife, whether it's our State Guard, all these assets that can go and help with search and rescue efforts if people are caught in difficult circumstances. You don't want that to be the case, and just keep in mind that if you do find yourself in those situations, those rescue efforts will be undertaken, but once it's safe to do so, they're not going to go out in a Category 3 hurricane trying to effectuate rescue. So the storm will pass, and then they will go in and help people that are in need. So we have that, locals have that, and you'll see those resources be put to bear if needed, but it will likely not happen until that storm passes. So just keep that in mind. If you stay behind and then you call in the middle of the storm, I think in pretty much all instances they're going to say we're going to have to wait. So be smart over these next few hours. With that, yes.
Governor, I'm curious if you've seen that post from the Taylor County Sheriff's Office that basically said that if people were staying behind despite the evacuation order, that they needed to put their name and information like their birthday and permanent marker on their limbs. Is that too much, or is that fair?
Well, I think people still have time to effectuate an evacuation in some of those areas. I mean, particularly you look at Taylor County. You look at that eye is kind of is heading in that direction potentially. It's a very real possibility that this storm will make landfall in Taylor County. So you're looking at those, particularly on the coast there. You're going to look at seeing some pretty significant storm surge. And if the storm surge is, I think they've said a maximum could be 20 feet. I don't think we've ever had 20 feet recently. I know Ian, I think, got to about 18 feet. But even if it's 10 feet, that is really significant, and that will have really serious consequences. And so people still have time to kind of make those judgments. I mean, obviously our state policy is not saying people have to use marker to do whatever, but you do have time to do. If you do hunker down, I don't think you're going to have the local sheriff's department. I don't think you're going to see state resources brought to bear for the rescue until it's safe to do so. And, we've had examples in storms where people were caught in very difficult circumstances. But basically, I think when you call 911 or you call the sheriff's department, they're going to say, OK, give me your name. Where are you at? As soon as it's safe to go, we'll send people. But they are going to wait for it to be safe to go.
With this being a night landfall, how are you guys going to implement those resources right away? You guys are telling people to wait till daylight to go out and survey the damage, repair your property. What's the state doing, especially with people their resources right behind the storm?
Well, I think Kevin can jump in on this, but I'll just say if you call 911 or you call for help, they're going to go. I mean, if it's nighttime, they're going to go and they're going to try to rescue. It's more a question of when the storm passes. These folks, they can operate in the night, but I would say cut and toss, most of those things are just going to require daylight. Power restoration, the crews will likely start getting there first thing in the morning. I know you have FPLs, got a lot of them staged in Bay County. So you may see them coming over to the Taylors and to some of these counties for restoration. But it isn't going to happen at 2 in the morning.
And Cody, just a little bit more on the tactical discussion of that, to the point where the governor says we have resources in Bay County. We have a whole lot of resources in the Ocala footprint right now, and even down at the Orange County Convention Center. That's where a lot of our urban search and rescue assets are staging. So tactically how that's going to work is as they start moving into this area, including the FPL resources staged in Waimuma and Leesburg area, all of that will start to move with the assistance of the Florida Highway Patrol and the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission, the DACS cut and toss crews. They will all work collectively as a team to work into the area. We have some of those staged in area right now. For instance,